Look, it's time football fans give something up. It's time football fans with this deep rooted hatred of Tom Brady give it up. It's time football fans just put it to rest because Tom Brady's resume says he's the greatest of all time. And I get it's hard to compare eras, so maybe you can't definitively say that. But in terms of greatest, in terms of accomplishments as both an individual and obviously team wise, he is the GOAT. He is the greatest. It's time football fans give up this hatred, this constant hatred of Tom Brady, and just freaking appreciate greatness. Sports fans don't appreciate greatness enough. Sports fans are fixated on hating and really that's being jealous of greatness way too often. And it's time football fans, especially now, with Tom Brady putting up 10 Super Bowl appearances on his resume, just give it up. This is another episode of Mic Drop here on Pittsburgh Sports Live. Bottom of the video, hit on that subscribe button. Help us get our content to you here on Pittsburgh Sports Live. I'm your host, Mike Asti, and I cover the Steelers, okay? We have a site there, SteelersNow.com, of course, a part of our family of networks. And Steeler fans in particular hate Tom Brady. He's beaten up on the Steelers from the beginning of his career when the team was certainly helping him before he really became elite to when he was really elite as an MVP. He was beaten up and down on the Steelers. The Steelers had a successful ride over the last 15 years, but it could have been so much more, and losing the Patriots, certainly a major part of that. But that's really rooted in jealousy. It's the same as any team that Tom Brady and the Patriots beat up on, and now Tom Brady and the Bucs beaten up on. Okay? Tom Brady, again, done it in the AFC, done it in the NFC. He's been in the NFC 1 year. It's going to the Super Bowl. Same amount of appearances as Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, who were in the NFC their whole career. But it's because he's the best. Much like LeBron James going to 10 NBA Finals in the NBA, there's not much room for anybody else. There's not much room for anyone else to get there when they were in a conference with him, because he would get there. And I get that's annoying for the opposing fans. I get there's bitterness there. I get some jealousy. You'd rather that be you, rather that be one of your guys. But to hate, to continuously try to tarnish, to refuse to acknowledge he's the greatest. There are still Steeler fans trying to taint because of the early 2000s rings. He's had a Hall of Fame career that arguably is the greatest of all time from 2004 to now. He's had a Hall of Fame career in his 40s just by itself. More Super Bowl appearances in his 40s than a lot of guys combined. It's just unbelievable. So, again, the resume is there both individually and as a team. 6 rings. We'll see here with the Super Bowl coming up. This may no longer be evergreen. It might be 7 rings. 10 Super Bowl appearances. 3 regular season MVPs. 4 Super Bowl MVPs. We'll see what happens against the Chiefs. The career passing touchdowns, the career overall yards, and it's not like he's just chucking yards and TDs with tons of interceptions like Favre. The interceptions that are at a minimum, he's doing it efficiently. He's doing it with a high completion percentage. He's doing it with a nice touchdown to interception ratio. He did it with lesser talent. He did it with tons of talent. He did it with Randy Moss. He also did it with Deion Branch and Troy Brown. He's done it with Gronk, but he's also done it with lesser talent. Again, he's done it without really ever an elite running back, just a bunch of myriad of running backs. He's done it with quality defensive players like Teddy Bruschi, like Ty Law, but never the best in the game. He's not looking at a Defensive Player of the Year award as a teammate of his. And he's taken teams that weren't supposed to get there. He's taken teams that were supposed to do it with pressure there. And this is a whole other show, but I do believe the best team he ever played on is their undefeated regular season, the 07 Patriots that didn't win a ring. And he didn't win that. He didn't, I guess, overcome that pressure, but they got pretty damn close. They did it all the way through. They only lost 1 game close off a fluke lucky play. The rest of it was undefeated and they were dominating. But he's dominated as an individual, as well as having to come back and overcome adversity within some of these games. And even games he lost, even the Super Bowl games he lost, it isn't like he played poorly. You're still seeing quality play and the yards and TDs and even the efficiency in those games, including that Super Bowl loss to Nick Foles where he set some records in that game. It wasn't on him. But I get being bitter. I get being jealous because you'd rather it be your guy. The same thing with fans against LeBron James for so many years in the NBA. And the same thing with fans against Sidney Crosby in the NHL. I get it. You have that elite level player, that transcendent, that greatest at the time player of the era, arguably for greatest of all time, making that case, making it harder on everyone else, and playing with great players at times. Lucky bounces going his way, having a comeback. Seems like you can't get rid of the man. But Tom Brady has done everything you could imagine, overall resume-wise. And yes, I get Spygate and some of those things you could hate, but let me also ruin some of those. Spygate, definitely more on Belichick. That was Brady as a young player. No way was he making that rule and forcing that upon a coach who already had been around the league for so long and had won before, at least as an assistant under Parcells, and won a little bit with the Browns. And there's no way, especially after that first ring, that Brady even had that cachet above Belichick. Belichick was running the show then, and certainly all the way through, but that cachet level was certainly way higher Belichick than Brady early on at that point. Then you get into Deflategate. And yeah, it sucks if he was doing that. It sucks if any of that. But numbers-wise and individual-wise and what maybe helped him, look at the stats. Look into it. Maybe he was lying. Lying sucks. I don't like liars. But again, was that him actually trying to do it, or him following orders, him just taking advantage of something that somebody else was doing? Again, it would still suck. But look at the numbers. In that AFC title game against the Colts team, they would have destroyed no matter what, and the Colts admitted that. They just weren't nearly as good overall. Tom Brady's numbers were better with the football the way it's supposed to be. Tom Brady's numbers were better with regulation football, okay? When it was deflated, which supposedly is supposed to help you, his numbers were worse. So say he was intentionally trying to cheat, which, yes, would suck, and that would be a little ding amongst everything else that's great on his resume. Hold him for that, sure. It didn't really help him. It just didn't. Factually, the stats are there. Look at the game. He was better with the football being regulation, than when it was deflated. So if it didn't really help him, then what are we talking about? It's not like Barry Bonds on steroids where you can believe he took him, you can believe he didn't, but say you believe he took him, and certainly there's proof to go in that direction. He was a great player with or without, like Brady, without his scandal, but there's certainly a reason to believe that Barry Bonds wouldn't have the single-season home run record since he never had a 50-plus home run season prior to that and after. There's certainly reason to believe that if you ding a little bit on his home runs, he wouldn't have the all-time mark because he only defeated Hank Aaron by a little bit over that. And if you take even 10 away, he wouldn't have that. There's certainly reason to believe that some of those balls would have been caught in the outfield rather than being over the fence if there are a difference of even 10 feet or so. Yes, a Hall of Fame great player either way, but there's certainly reason to believe his stats and legacy were helped a little bit because of taking steroids. Brady, it would have been there nonetheless. His stats actually were better when he supposedly was not cheating and when that was not there as an advantage. That's the case in that game. That's just factual. But now that Brady has 10 Super Bowl appearances, a full decade of excellence and success with all myriad of different ways of getting there in different styles of teams, through a free agency era, through an era with great Hall of Fame quarterbacks all the way around, in a very tough era with players moving all over the place and doing it at times with not tons of talent around him, and then again now doing it with tons of talent, but pressure coming with that, and a new team and a new scheme and a new coach and a new city and everything new, and doing it right away over Drew Brees, over Aaron Rodgers, facing Patrick Mahomes, maybe the toughest road any quarterback had to go through against quarterbacks to get a championship, if that happens, or even get to a Super Bowl. That it's time fans just put that to bed. Just leave that hatred to bed. Just stop hating on the man that has the greatest of all time resume and just leave that go. What are you hating on? And let me ask you this as I close up. Let me ask you this as I put a bow on this show. Are you hating Tom Brady because you don't believe he's really the greatest? Because you think there's legitimately reasons to say he's not as good as somebody else? Certainly comparing similar eras, there's no way you can do that. Are you hating him because you just don't like the guy? Because we can also go to away from the field. Seemingly a great father, certainly. Yeah, he's been divorced, but still a great father. Everyone's been divorced. That's nothing to hate a guy on. That happens. But a great father, you see him there asking to talk to his son right after the game, not worrying about even the accolades. A great teammate, his teammates love him. He's doing things for his teammates more than himself. He keeps repeatedly saying that, and all his teammates rave about the man over the years. None of his teammates are hating on him. He's not splitting locker rooms like some other Hall of Famers. He's just beloved all the way around. His peers, young and old, love him, respect him, revere him. Nobody's hating there. So what are you hating on? Are you hating on legitimate things, or are you just jealous and bitter and just kind of envious that he did it to you, stopped your team from being better and achieving more, or just jealous in general? The guy's really good looking. He's really, really rich. He's accomplished everything imaginable. He is the greatest of all time resume-wise in his craft. He's now transcended the game. Maybe has the best resume among pro sports legends of all time. And he's done it every way you can. Are you hating him legitimately, or are you just pure jealous? That's what you need to ask yourself. But I think it's time sports fans, football fans, everyone gives it a rest and just flat out respects the greatness that is, not past tense yet, that is Tom Brady, especially from where he came from, the expectations, the hype, not there, and then to achieve this, that bulletproof greatest of all time resume. It's time to respect it. It's time to appreciate it, because it's never going to happen again. It's not happened to this point, and it never will happen again, especially this consistent success, this individual and team success, and all the way through to this age. We're not going to see it anymore. So respect it, appreciate it. And if you can't, really ask yourself, why aren't you? Why aren't you able to? Legitimate hatred, or are you just jealous? Once again, make sure to hit that subscribe button bottom of the video. It helps us get our content to you. Of course, it is free to hit that subscribe button. Makes it easier for us to get our content to you, and you get a notification when any of our shows go live or get released here on Pittsburgh Sports Live. Thanks to our sponsor again, our many sponsors here, sponsor of this show and everything else throughout the network, that is very possible here to watch mic drop shows, hitting that subscribe button for free, or anything else here again on Pittsburgh Sports Live and throughout our family of Pittsburgh Sports Now networks. Make sure to follow us on social media at PGH Sports Live on Twitter, at Steelers Now. I'll throw that out there since I cover the Steelers in the NFL, even though this isn't really a Steelers show, but kind of to you Steeler fans, at PGH Steelers Now on Twitter, and of course SteelersNow.com. And Mike Asti 11 down there. Mike Asti 11 down there to bring this debate here in the comment section. We want to see comments to you. We definitely would appreciate comments down there. We can go back and forth. I comment back. Look through the channel. I'll comment back, whether it's on my video or not here as I run this channel, or just throw me over there at Mike Asti 11. Kind of keep it sane, keep it intelligent, but I'll go back and forth on this debate. I don't see a reason. Give me one. I don't see a reason why. I'd love to hear it. I want you to tell me. I don't see a reason why their legitimate hate should be there. I don't see why that hate is not actually jealousy when it comes to Tom Brady.